You may have realized that being healthy feels different than it did in the past now that you're over 50. If you want to maximize your health potential but don't have time to read through overwhelming pages of Google links, this is the show for you. Welcome to Healthy Tips After 50. We love doing the research, finding solutions, talking to health experts, and learning what works and what doesn't. Now, your host. She spent the last 25 years dedicated to feeling her best and is here to share her best findings with you, Susan Rosen.
Hello, everyone. This is your host, Susan Rosen, and my guest today is Kelly Howard. And I love her name because I can't screw it up. And I'm sure all the people who watch or listen to my podcast understand when I say that. So anyways, welcome to the podcast. We've just been having a really fun conversation before we turned on the record button. And I would like Kelly to introduce herself and let us know what she's doing and, what she wants to talk to us about. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks, Susan. And thank you to everybody listening. I really appreciate it. This is a treat. And it was a treat to have that conversation beforehand. We should have recorded it. Everybody be like, oh my gosh. But we didn't. So sorry, guys. Yeah. You'll just have to wonder. I'm Kelly Howard. That is an easy name. And I call myself the fitness consistency coach with a touch of adventure. And what that really means is that over the years, I've done a lot of different things that were fitness related. Never been a personal trainer, never been, a doctor or anyone with something, letters behind my name. But I do love helping people get out, get active, push themselves past their comfort zone, and become consistent in their fitness. And a lot of that comes down to, I was just talking to a client and we were talking about the fact that so much of what I deal with is really mindset. It really is. Like fitness starts in your head. And I have clients who have fought me for that. But the truth is that if we can't get excited about it, we're not going to do it. And I get the opportunity to be here because I just finished my most recent book, which is called Fit, Active and Ageless for Life. And I'm getting a chance to chat with y'all through Susan. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, welcome. I'm interested to hear about your book. Because it's a problem for a lot of people, including myself at times. I kind of go back and forth with
consistency part.
Yeah.
It's a problem for everybody. And the truth is that we just have to give ourselves a pass, because if we try and make it perfect, when we try and be perfect, it never works. And that's when we're like, nothing works. I just must not be ever able to do this because nothing's ever worked for me. And the truth is that maybe we were never perfect at it. But I like that 80-90% rule in my world. It's like, if I hit 80 to 90% of what I say I'm going to do this week, as far as my exercise goes, boom, as far as I'm concerned, I'm awesome. And if I hit 100, then I think that maybe that week was a little too easy.
Okay. Or your muscles are going to hurt because you went past what you should have done, right?
Right. Or I had extra time, or maybe life just wasn't lifing that week, right? Things happen, and we've got to be willing to just kind of every so often just stop and do the things that we've got to take care of, but always come back, right? That's my big thing. So you have to always come back to what it is that you need to be doing for your health. Because if we don't, we're going to be here. Most of us are going to be here for a long time. Medical science is going to keep us here. That's its job. And I come from Houston, Texas, which happens to have the largest, I think, medical conglomerate in the world, right? And so I see it a lot. I see that people are alive, but not thriving. And what I want to see is thriving and fully alive. There's a huge difference.
Yeah, that is huge. Absolutely. Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've gone, starting when I was probably a teenager, gone to joined a gym, went for a while, then stopped going, then got rid of the gym membership. And exactly.
Yeah, no, it's very, and that's normal, right? It's like It's like the New Year's issue.
Oh, yes,
Right?
exactly.
The New Year's. I don't know when we're dropping this podcast episode, but if it's at the New Year's, trust me, everybody, just like don't fall into that New Year's resolution thing. Just fall into the one step after another. And I'm not going to make it hard. I'm just going to keep going. And that's really like the big piece, because New Year's, we put all these huge things on ourselves. Like I have to do this and I have to do that. And, last year it kind of sucked a little bit. And so this year it's going to be way, way better. And what we do is we just pile it all on. And on week 3, I see it like week 3, I get busy because people are panicking. They've quit going to the gym already. They're eating all the junk again. And instead it's like, just start small. I used to be the person who always said like, start strong. And I realized that that's baloney. Like just start small, little steps. And it's, when I was a kid, my mother read me, Aesop's Fables, the rabbit, turtle in the hair, right?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Right. And she, my mother was big into this. And I realized later she was right. Like just be like the turtle. Just keep going.
Yeah, no, that makes so much sense. So much sense. Yeah, it's yeah. Okay, well, I'll make sure to post this at the beginning of the year for everybody.
Okay. Awesome. So now we really are talking about New Year's resolutions. So let's dump them and just go for it, everybody.
Yeah. No, exactly. So does your book have like suggestions on how to get this all set up, or how does it work? Are there videos that go with it, or tell us a little bit about your book?
That's a good question, because I can tell you that the best testimonial I got about my book was, wow, this is kind of like an anti-fitness book. And I went,
I love it.
Wow, I love it, and that's because I think that there's so much quote unquote fitness suggestions out there that are all cookie cutter. Everybody does this, and you need to do this, and you need to do this. And I don't believe that. I think that all of our, especially when we get to be like late 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s and up, our bodies know what works for us and what doesn't. And I'll have people say to me, I don't want to go to the gym, 3 times a week for an hour. Right. Well, you probably shouldn't, right? Like at this point in our life, until you build up, you probably shouldn't. So I like to suggest to people that there's 3 pieces that you need. And then you just want to find the things that are fun within them. One of them is mobility. And mobility is, I don't know about you, but for myself, I grew up with this always, there was always this question, do you stretch before or after exercise, right? And there was like this debate. And the reality is that you don't stretch, right? You really don't. You just move. And that's what mobility is.
Just warm up.
Warming up the joints, like, doing the ankle rolls and doing the knee rolls. And it's just warming up. Because if we don't warm up, and I have personal, I use myself as a guinea pig a lot. So I can absolutely say unequivocally that I have tested numerous times that I go out for a long hike. I go out for a long hike cold without warming up. And then I'll do the same hike again, basically the same circumstances, do it all warmed up. I'm quicker. I feel better. Things hurt less, and I can go further. And so to me, right there, it tells me that warming up is the thing. So we all need to have some sort of mobility. And in the book, I go over a lot of different options for mobility. I mean, there's just so many things out there. We don't have to just do yoga, because people will be like, oh, I don't want to do yoga. You don't have to just do yoga. There's so many more things. So you want mobility. You want some cardio. Now, a lot of the people I work with, myself included, are what I call cardio addicts. Like, we love to go long. We just do. Like, this is somehow or another, that's what we grew up doing. Maybe we grew up running or hiking or cycling or whatever it is. And you don't go for 30 minutes, you go for 3 hours kind of thing. Unfortunately, if you are a cardio addict, I'm sorry, but I'm just going to have to tell you, like, we got to live with this. It's not good for us to go long all the time. We burn our muscles out. We burn our muscles up. So I did this to myself during COVID, and I knew better, just like full disclosure, I knew better going into this. But when the pandemic started, I didn't know what to do, everybody else in the world, right? I didn't know what to do. And the only way I knew how to handle my stress was just to go out and go long. I was doing these long cycling rides and these long hiking rides. My gym was shut down, so I wasn't doing any resistance. So what I found out, and of course, all the stress, by going long, you would think that you'd lose weight, right? You don't. You don't when you get to a certain age. What you do is you lose muscle. So that comes to the third piece. And I will just say this about cardio. If cardio is not your thing, it's okay. It needs to be a thing a little bit, maybe 3 times a week. But it's good for our hearts, right? We got to get we've got to get the cardio in there. And then the third piece is resistance. We have to have some resistance. And not just resistance to life, resistance in life, like weights. So it can be weights, it can be body weight, it can be bands, it can be Pilates. I mean, there's just so many options of what it can be, right? You don't have to just go to the gym, but you need a bit of each of those. And if you have a bit of each of those, really depending upon where you're starting, like if you're just starting out, start slow. If you've been doing this for a while, ramp it up. If you're like a class A athlete, really ramp it up. But we've got to do it all. So that is really the big promise in my book, is that I show you how to create, like how to pick and choose out of all those different pieces, and how to create something, because it has to be fun. If it's not fun, we won't do it.
That's true.
Right? Somewhere deep down, people go, well, I'm not motivated. And I say, well, that means that you're just not having fun doing what it is. And this stuff can be fun. I mean, believe me, not every workout I have is barrel a monkey kind of thing, right? But I always make sure that I have some fun sprinkled in. Like every week I have something that I suggest to people called a wild card. And the wild card can be a rest day. Like if you just want to rest, that's great. But maybe you want to go out and do something that you love to do. Like for me, I love to hike, I love to kayak, I love to cycle. Just like, what's your wild card day look like? Go do it and have fun. Because if you're not having fun at this, we will not do it. We can't force ourselves, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I get a little impassioned. So tell me, sorry, now that I just ran over you, tell me what else you'd like to ask me.
No, all of that is so valuable, because if somebody's been an athlete their whole lives, that's different. They've already got the mindset. They already know for themselves what they need to do. They know, I mean, my husband, he started playing athletics in grammar school, and he was still doing it when he was in college, so he still is, he keeps dragging me to the gym because because he needs to go, and it's great, but I only do half as much stuff as he does.
And you may only need to do half as much as he does too, right? Like that is the thing. Everybody is their own body, right? I mean, and this is not exactly what we're talking about, but I was talking to a client and I was like, so what would your number be if you were like amazing? And she's like, 6 or 7. I was like, 6 or 7 is amazing? And she's like, well, I'll never be an 8. And I'm like, why not? And she said, well, I see people in the gym and I know they're 8s. And I'm like, no, what they are is they're their own 8. Like we need to be the best we can be in our bodies, because everybody's bodies are different. And we've had lots of different things happen to us in life, right? So, maybe we've had surgery, maybe we've had injury, maybe whatever it is. So we have to work with it, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times we, as people of our age, I'm just going to say people of our age, it's a little different for the younger generation in a lot of different ways. But for I'm 63 now. So, give or take 10 years, we didn't really grow up with this thought that we're going to exercise all our lives. We have to move, right? Like you don't have to move. You maybe do a little walking. All right, let's go out for a little walk. Walking is great. Walking is really kind of one of those things that soothes your soul more than anything.
Yeah.
But to be able to live a long, long, vibrant life, we have to really start seriously moving. And we can't feel guilty about it, because that's another thing that comes up. A lot of times people will feel guilty. Oh, well, I'm taking care of myself instead of the family or the house or the grandkids or the kids or whomever it is, right? And I think it's the best thing you can do. because you don't want all those people who love you to have to take care of you at some point.
No.
Right. And
I
by taking
agree.
care of ourselves,
Yeah.
we're taking care of them, and we're,
Mhm.
getting the bonuses that come from feeling good, and,
Yep.
and all the endorphins that exercise brings, and all the
Uh-huh.
happiness it brings, because it raises your mood always.
Yep.
And so it's just like, it's maybe a little different way of looking at it,
Mhm.
but I think we have to look at it. Another thing is that, like, we're in a really interesting time now. And that interesting time is that there's all this information about longevity, right?
Yeah.
Longevity, especially, like, let's think about the brain, right? 20 years ago, no one really thought that your brain could get better, right?
Right.
Your brain was just a brain, and hopefully you didn't get dementia or Alzheimer's or whatever, but you had the brain you had, and it was going to kind of like peter out. But now we're finding that that's not true. Like, you can do all these things, and your brain can grow instead of shrink.
Mhm.
And same thing with our longevity, with our bodies. Like, we're finding that so much of what we thought was inevitable isn't. Our genes or our DNA, it's not inevitable that we're going to get what our parents had. It's just, it's a possibility if that gene is turned on. But there's just, like, so much knowledge that nobody had 20 years ago or 30 years ago, and it's super cool.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. Absolutely. And you're so right about, you don't have to be your parent.
No, you don't.
And to be perfectly honest, your parents didn't have the advantages that we have.
That's right. It's right. And to be perfectly honest, I'm a little jealous of the kids that are coming behind us, because they've got all this knowledge that we didn't have.
Yeah.
And we're kind of late to the game. So, and they didn't have that information. I mean, they were just doing their parent thing. So each generation is finding and growing in different ways. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. And life was so different. I mean, if we look at our parents' lives,
So
everything was so different.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't even, it's like I'm thinking about so many different things that, I remember my mom going to a gym, but they didn't, ladies didn't do weights.
Right. It's true.
They did floor exercises and,
Maybe
that kind of stuff, walking. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And so everything for every generation, life has changed. And the same for us. I mean, I know when I was growing up, I had a bicycle. I used to ride it I got a better one when I was in high school. I used to ride it to school, or I walk. But, now you see so many kids out, so many people, period, on bicycles.
Right. Like truly cycling. And
yeah.
Some cycling is just like cruising around, and some of it is like on an e-bike, and some of it is doing long distance rides and mountains. So it's, I love to see people doing things that either they didn't do as kids, or they did as kids that they really liked, right? And they come back to it.
Yeah.
Because, like, riding a bike, and I'm going to use the e-bike example, because a lot of people will say to me, well, my knees aren't quite the way they used to be. I'm like, fine, get an electric bike, get some power assist, but go do those things that you like to do.
Yeah.
Like, that's where that adventure comes in, because I do believe that when we find those things that either lit us up as a kid, like, I never talk about this, but I'll talk about it. So I had a horse when I was a kid.
Oh, neat.
This thing never happened to me, right? I loved that horse. And every so often I think about the fact that if 8-year-old Kelly looked at 63-year-old Kelly and said, oh my gosh, you have a credit card and you don't have a horse? What's wrong with you? Right? That little kid, like, she worked her back end off to pay for that horse. And it's the things, and that's something that I really enjoy. So you'll probably see me get in a horse at some point, but find those things that get you excited. We need that. Keeps us young.
Yeah. No, that's true. And it applies to everything, right? Not necessarily just stuff that's physical, or It's just, you like going to movies, go to more movies.
Right.
You like going to see plays, I don't know, music. There's so much out there.
And you know what?
You like helping people. Go
Exactly.
do volunteer work.
That keeps you healthy too. Because
my
when
God,
you're happy, you're healthier. So yeah.
And when you have people's appreciation, because for God's sakes, I mean, doing volunteer work, there's nothing else you can possibly do that's going to give you that amount of appreciation from other people.
Right.
I know. I mean, especially in this day and age.
Yeah. No, it's so true.
Yeah.
I guess it comes down to just living, like living
Yeah,
as much as you possibly can.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about your book, like how it's set up and organized and
Sure.
yeah.
So you have to like stories to like this book, because I love to tell stories. And so the stories are they're about my clients. And I love to see how people excel. It just, to me, it just, talk about helping. It just makes me so excited. And so an excel would be like the beginning of the book. I talk about what I call the top of the mountain. And it was a retreat. I lead retreats a few times a year. So it's an adventure retreat. First one I did goes back about 4 years ago. I had a group of women that I'd been working with. We did something called Sugar Freedom, which was like no sugar for a month. And it was, it was, quite frankly, it was tough. And everybody did so well. And at the end of it, I thought, well, I've been having this thought about doing this thing, so I'm just going to throw it out there. I'm like, who wants to go to the Smoky Mountains and go hiking with me? And everybody was like, yeah, I do. Like we're all high on no sugar. And so everybody's super excited. And then, all of a sudden they realize what they've just committed to. And so that's the beginning of the book, because I talk about the fact that nobody in that group, I think one person in that group had done something like this before. And instead, getting from zero, and zero being, I've never done anything like this and I don't think I can, to the top of one of the highest mountains in the Smoky Mountains. And then the Smoky Mountains.
My God.
But believe me, for flatlanders, there's plenty of height there. And getting up there and all of us at the top, like, shoulder to shoulder, looking out over this view and going, we did this, right? And that's what I want people to feel. It's like, whatever their, top of the mountain is, that's what this book is about. It's like, get there. And just like, and how are you going to get there? Well, of course, you're going to get there through, your fitness, through the 3 pieces, right? The mobility, the cardio, and the resistance. You're going to get there through eating better. You're going to get there through sleeping better. Or if you sleep great and eat great now, you're just going to get there through consistently doing that. And you're going to get there through planning. I am a big planner. In the end, I may talk about adventure all day long, but I have a plan that I put together every week for my fitness. And I encourage everybody else to do that. And then just coming back to what we talked about at the very beginning, at least hitting it at 80%. And that's enough to get you to the top of the mountain.
Yeah, no, that's, and I agree with what you had said earlier as well, which is, aiming for 100% just is not the right word. Possible isn't what I'm trying to think of. It's
realistic.
It's
exhausting. It's exhausting.
Well, that too. Right? Yeah.
It is exhausting. I had somebody who had gone to the gym. She had done all of her stuff. She got home and she realized that she'd forgotten to do, I don't know, her tricep kickbacks or something. And she texts me. She's like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I'm like, well, you can do one of two things. You can just do it next time, or you can grab a can of fruit out of the cabinet and start doing some tricep kickbacks in your kitchen, but just quit stressing over it. Right? It's not realistic. And some months it is. I mean, I will say that, like, if you're really, really trying to achieve something, it is realistic for a certain period of time. But we have busy lives. We have stuff going on. We have other things we want to do. We want to go listen to music. We want to go to the movies. Like, there's other stuff to do in life than just exercise. That's true.
Yeah. And it seems to me along the same lines that, if you set your goal for 80%, you're going to hit it a lot more often than if you set it at 90 or 100.
Yeah, you're going to be a lot happier.
Yeah, and then you're going to feel really great if you do 85%.
Yeah.
You're not leaving yourself any wiggle room.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah. Yeah. I think people, and I think that's kind of a life lesson kind of thing. It's not just exercise.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it really is. My niece is starting a podcast, and she's, I hope she's not listening. I will just say this though. She's starting, and then she's starting, and then she's starting. And I'm like, you know what? Quit worrying about having it perfect. If you want some fun, you go back and listen to my first couple of episodes of the podcast. Holy moly, it was bad, right?
Oh, me too.
You just have to these things and quit worrying about them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And perfect is boring.
It is boring. It is boring.
I mean, I'm not gonna connect with somebody who's perfect.
No.
Because I'm certainly not perfect. And I can't, there's nothing I can, it's always like, oh, well, that person, right?
Right.
Yeah. It's so much more interesting. People are more interesting. If you're perfect, you're perfect.
Well, perfection makes us feel bad too.
I have no doubt. Yeah. Because then we feel worse. We're the worst as opposed to better.
Right. It's true.
Yeah. Interesting. Oops. Sorry. I don't know. That was weird. Breathing in when I thought I was breathing out.
Right.
Okay. I'm not going to try that one again. Yeah, it is interesting too that exercise is like off on its own kind of thing, the way that people relate to it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like, oh, I'm going to go learn a new language, or oh, I'm going to do that. I mean, exercise is one of those things that is like, well, everybody else does it for most people.
Yeah, I see what you mean. It's kind of like the outlier. It's not, and I guess, never having thought of it that way, I would guess that probably my mission, without knowing it, is to get everybody to think that it's normal, right? It's just part of the norm. It's just what you do.
That's right.
Get up, you sleep, you eat, do a little movement, have some fun.
Yeah. Feel better.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I know my husband and I, we get up in the morning, and almost every morning. We didn't today because I was off running errands and stuff. But otherwise, we'd go out for a walk every day, typically in the morning before we have breakfast.
That's great.
And we do anywhere usually between 1 and 2.5 miles, sometimes 3 miles, depends on how much time we have and what we feel like and how hungry we are. But we've gotten in the habit.
Right. And it's just part of what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting because we walk around the neighborhood and we see the same people. And we're all, oh, hi, And we can always tell when it's a little warmer because there's fewer people out by the time we get out, because we're not early risers. And so it's a whole different, whole different thing. We used to do it separately, like before COVID. And then I've taken a couple of falls, and so my husband won't let me go out walking by myself anymore.
Well, good. Now you have the camaraderie.
I know. Right? Yeah, exactly. But taken, as he said, I've taken a couple of headers.
Right. Yep. No, I know that term. Yeah, it happens. It happens to everyone.
Well, it happens when you don't pick your feet up.
When you don't pick your feet up. Yeah, it's true. When you don't pick your feet up.
And broken sidewalk.
Yeah. Uneven. That's a funny thing too, because I don't know why that happens. Like, I should know why that happens because this is what I do for a living, right? I don't know why that happens, but I do see it happening. And it's one of those things, like about every 6 months or so, we'll do what I call the balance challenge or the balance experiment in my group. And because I think balance is, I mean, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're 12 or, 100.
No, I agree.
We need balance. And it comes back so fast. That's the coolest thing about balance is that if you practice and then you just kind of like step it up, literally, not even a pun, but just step it up, it comes back so quick. And the more you work on your balance, the more I see people working on their foot placement too. And there's something in there.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. I mean, I really watch, so I miss half of everything else that's going on around me.
Yeah.
But I'm just looking at the sidewalk to find where the uneven and,
I know. And that's like almost no fun. Right? I just took this group out to the Smokies and we did this walk and then the hike, it was like, there was a lot of stuff. Like there were a lot of obstacles, like 6, 12, 18-inch obstacles. Wow. And everybody was exhausted at the end because they're like, oh my gosh, all I did was look at my feet. And yes, I mean, there is, if you don't mind, I'll tell you the trick. The trick is, it's just like if you mountain bike. Like when you go mountain bike, you look down the trail, like you look down the trail for obstacles, and then you bring it back close. And then you look down and then you bring it back close, and you look down and bring it back close. And what that does is, it takes all that grief off of our necks, because when we're always looking at our feet, and it allows you to look around. It's like broad scope awareness. So and when we have like really, really bad sidewalks that are all like our neighborhood, we might as well have a class 5 out there because it's so crazy. But you do, like, if you look down and then look out and then look down and look out, sometimes
no, and I try to do that. I try to look a ways down so I can get ready for the ones that are,
pick your lines. That's what it is. That's exactly what you're doing. Good for you. Oh no, and I've been doing some exercises that are supposed to, that strengthen your legs. Because just like standing on one foot. Right.
So I do that for like 2 minutes on each foot.
That's great.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And it's made a big difference. It's made a big difference.
Right. Yeah. And that's kind of like that whole balance thing too. Because it brings you back to your balance. Your balance creates strength. It creates, you know where you are in space and time. Right. Anyway, let's get really esoterical. But really, truly, if you think about it, like it allows you to kind of know where you are. And then, and then it gets easier.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is too, I don't know if this applies to everybody, not necessarily everybody, that's the wrong way to put it, but if other people have the same issue, which is that my mother was always tripping and 2 of my brothers. So I don't know whether we learned it from her.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, maybe. Right.
Yeah. Which is really kind of strange to think of, but it's the only thing I can think of, because otherwise it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
But, it's kind of funny, huh?
Life.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But anyways, so it's, anyways, we go for a walk every day.
Nice. Good for you.
Yeah. I've still taken headers even when I am with him, but
we got picked up by 2 large dogs about, I don't know, a year and a half ago. They're 65, 70 pounds. I really didn't want a dog at the time, but they were together and I didn't want to separate them. So we named Romeo and Juliet, and now we've got them. And since then, they have taken me down a couple of times. I've been surprised. Suddenly there's a cat, one of them goes one way and the other goes the other way, and I'm on the ground and I'm like, now that didn't feel good.
Right. How did I get down here? That was awful fast, right?
Yeah, it is very fast. So it actually made me start focusing more, like paying more attention on what this old dogs are doing, and B, like making sure that, coming back to that balance every time.
Yeah. Well, changing your point of view, where you're now taking the dogs for a walk instead of the dogs taking you for a walk.
Exactly. And there is some discussion between us and them as to whether or not that's the truth.
Yeah, really, exactly. Well, especially if they're big enough. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No, for sure. Okay. Excuse me. Well, since we're going to post this right after New Year's, why don't you give us some, a couple of pointers that people can kind of start the year with to get it off on the, if you'll pardon the expression, on the right foot.
Oh yeah, on the right foot. Oh yeah. Let's see. Let me just think about this for just a second. So in the new year, my suggestion would be first to find what I like to call the North Star. What's the thing that's going to get you excited about movement? Not, oh, I need to lose weight. Oh, I need to avoid taking headers, whatever it is. It's like, what's going to get you excited? It can be anything. It's different for everybody. But find that thing. And I don't want to dive too deep because the North Star can take me. I can get really excited and talk about the North Star for half. But just think about that. Like, ask yourself what your goal is. And then the next question is, and why, right?
Okay.
So let's just do a little quick one. Like, let's say somebody comes to me very frequently and they'll say, oh, I'd like to lose 30 pounds. I'd be like, okay. And what will that do for you?
Yeah.
Right. And, sometimes one of them said, well, then I'll fit into a dress and I'll look really good at my daughter's wedding. Okay.
That makes sense.
What will that do for you?
Yeah.
Right. So now she's got a little emotional high, but what's it going to do more? And she's like, well, it'll make me feel like I used to feel. I'm like, oh, okay. And what does that mean for you? And then she's like, well, I used to feel like I had energy and I was more excited at life and I did more things. Like, okay, well, let's use that as your North Star. You're going to have more energy. You're going to be more excited. You're going to be able to do more things. Right? So find that North Star before you go out and write out your goals for the new year. Right? Forget that. North Star it. Then you can go, okay, what's going to get me there? That's going to be different than I need to lose weight. Because I need to lose weight means now I got a diet, and diets are no fun. Everybody knows that. And actually
go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, right. And they don't really work for us, especially at a certain age. Like dieting is really counterintuitive. It will not work for us. I mean, to some degree, but not a lot. So, like, what's going to get you there? And you might find that maybe better sleep is one of those things that's going to make you feel better. Or maybe more movement or whatever it is. Now you've got your North Star. What's going to get me there? And then make a really, really, really simple. When I say a simple plan, like I tell people, if you can only take 10 minutes, then just do 10 minutes. Like usually 10 minutes will lead to 20, 20 will lead to 30. But start with 10 if that's all you've got. And do a little bit of mobility, a little bit of cardio, and a little bit of resistance. And if you don't know what to do, you either go get my book, which is like inexpensive on Amazon, or you just Google it and you look for some sort of like resistance training for body weight for your age. Put your age in there because otherwise you're going to end up with this video of somebody like standing on her head and her feet are coming over very slowly and her cat's jumping up and down on her toes. And you're like, oh, give me a rest, right? Forget that stuff. So just make it really simple and then give yourself a month and then adjust your schedule. But every week, give yourself a schedule. It doesn't have to be big, but it just has to be real. Okay. Your schedule can't be like written on a Post-it note and stuck in the back of your jeans. It has to be real. And just think about that. And if it feels too little, if it feels like you're not doing enough, remember that usually we like, I don't know, what's one of these, give me any of the big athletic companies. And, it's like, go strong, go win, go
Nike. Yeah. Nike.
There you go.
Yeah.
And it only lasts for a little bit. It's elusive. Do something that's real and have fun doing it. Yeah. All right. Now I'm going to stop because otherwise I'll keep going and we'll be into June of next year. But no, the truth is just little steps and just keep going.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too is, and I'm not sure how much this necessarily applies to people over 50, but I guess it probably does. When I was younger, number one, I was a fat little kid, and I became a fat teenager, and then I was a fat person in my 20s.
Oh wow!
And I was at graduate school. And that was when they still had doctors at the school. So you use their medical center, right? And stuff.
Right.
And my doctor there said to me at one point, she said, you know what? So you don't lose the weight now, you're going to be fighting it the rest of your life. And I said,
wow.
Okay. And I had done Weight Watchers, and I had done all these different things, and I would lose some and I would gain it back, yada, 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 right? And so she gave me a plan, just an eating plan. And it was just something that was, it wasn't like, okay, now you're going to have these 3 things for the next 5 days, right? It wasn't like that. It was something you could actually eat.
Yeah.
And I lost 30 pounds.
Wow.
And knock on wood, I haven't, there's one period of time where I gained some of it back, but not very much. Lost it again. And I've never put it back on again. But, that's the thing. It's somebody talking real to you.
Right.
Make a decision. What do you want to do? So, and it's up to us. There's nobody else we're doing this for.
No. In the end, it is up to us.
Yeah. And and that's what she was saying. So, but I always remember that. That one of those things in my brain, there's a lot of memories that are gone, but that one's still there. I still remember her saying that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it was totally true.
It is totally true.
Yeah. So anyways, we'll add that on to our start of the year.
There you go.
Yep.
Definitely.
Yeah, so, but anyways, okay, well, we should probably wrap up.
Okay.
Now that we've given everybody our advice.
Yep.
And your advice.
Gotten to chat for a while. Thank you so much for having me. I truly appreciate it. Thank you to everybody listening.
It's been great. I've had a good time as well and learned a lot for myself. So I will put your website as well as the book on Amazon.
Yes. The website's the easiest place to find me. It's just fitasfreedom.com.
Okay. Great. And I'll put it in the show notes so people know where to find you.
Thank you again.
And your book is, I assume, on the website as well as on Amazon.
It is. Yeah. Good luck getting away from it. It's on the website. It's on Amazon. It's in all my emails. Yep. Actually, though, the fun thing was we did hit bestseller in all of our categories when we came out. So that was, yeah.
Wow. Congratulations. How fun.
Yeah.
How fun. Yeah. And that's not easy to do.
It took a few emails.
Like 3,000 of them or something, or
about that. Yeah.
I got it. Okay. Okay. Well, I'm going to say what I always say at the end of my podcast, which is that neither of us are doctors. This is not to be seen as medical advice. If you are having some other issues besides just weight or weight-related things, then please go and see your own doctor. And with that, thank you very much, Kelly, for coming on. It's been a pleasure. And I will tell everybody that I will see them next week.
This has been Healthy Tips After 50 with Susan Rosen. To stay on the cutting edge of the most effective health strategies, subscribe to this podcast and let us know what you thought of the show with a comment or like on iTunes. Visit healthytipsafter50.com for this episode's show notes, more resources, and free offers.